Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Thursday, the 29th of December. Good to have you aboard. We got a lot happening today, however you're listening to us. I love you long time. Make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you tell your friends, you tell your family, you do all that good stuff. And of course, Anidjar and Levine, our title sponsor. Can't do any of this without them. If you're dealing with any type of personal injury from an accident, 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ZASLOW Show. Been getting a lot of good comments, some good reaction there as well. But same thing with the podcast. Make sure you like, you rate, you comment. The algorithm needs you to do that, all right? So make sure you get involved in all that good stuff. I'm very excited about tonight. The Heat lost. So used to saying that. The Heat won last night, so they're actually now at 18 and 17. The Heat are in the playoff picture. And I'm not talking about the play-in. They're actually in the top six, I think, for the first time this year. So it's like a three-way tie, but I guess the Heat currently own the tiebreak. I mean, it's way too early to talk about that kind of stuff. But the Heat beat the Lakers last night. We'll get to that in a moment. Panthers back in action tonight. Brett Romberg, my former co-host, he's going to join us on the show today. We'll get his thoughts on the Canes. We'll see what's going on there. I know the Canes fan out there will enjoy a little bit of Canes talk here on ZASLOW Show 2.0. Also, I want to talk to him about concussions. I want to talk to him about what's going on with Tua. I mean, I did a show with Brett for years. I know he's had a bunch of concussions. We'll ask him if he knows how many he's had. So we'll get his thoughts there. We'll get a former player on to talk about what's going on with Tua. So Brett will join us coming up. That'll be a lot of fun. Now, the NFL Week 17 gets going tonight. Cowboys and Titans. If you're a longtime ZASLOW Show listener, then you know that we used to do Jamie Eisenberg fantasy football on Thursdays. He would give us the tips. He now joins us on Fridays. So tomorrow, Jamie Eisenberg will be on with us, CBS Sports fantasy football expert. He'll give us the goods as far as that's concerned, all right? So make sure that you don't forget about that. You want to get all the good fantasy football advice tomorrow. But, and like I said, we'll get to the Heat in a second here. But I'm very excited about tonight. By the way, shout out to both Amber Wilson and Joy Taylor yesterday. ZASLOW Coach and Tree was representing yesterday. Amber was fantastic on First Take. I watched it after my show, and I listened to a lot of Joy. I was in the car for quite a bit yesterday. I listened to a lot of Joy. She was hosting The Herd before doing her regular gig hosting Speak on FS1. So just a great job by the girls right there. Hopefully you were able to catch some of that. Now, tonight, I will see you at FTX Arena. WWE Live, the holiday tour, is making a stop at FTX Arena here. It is a SmackDown house show. I'm very excited about that. If you're going tonight, you see your boy, you see a two-time championship broadcaster, you say what's up, you say hello. I'm going there with my younger son, Jordan. I'm very excited. WWE house shows. It's funny. When I was a kid, well, all you really had was a house show. And if you showed up one time and they were taping a WWF Superstars episode, which they used to tape like 2 or 3 weeks worth of episodes in one night. If you were showing up and all of a sudden it was a Superstars taping, which happened to me one time, oh my God, it was amazing. That was so cool. But otherwise, house shows were all we had. This was before you had WWF Monday Night Raw. So house shows was all I went to as a kid. Excuse me. Then you get a little bit older and you get the weekly shows. You get Raw, you get SmackDown, you want to go to the TV shows. But then as I got even older than that, like where I am now, the house shows are where it's at, man. House shows are what you want to go to because there's no commercial breaks. All the matches are like really long. They're a good length and you get a ton of interaction between the superstars and the audience. House shows are so much fun. So if you got kids and you're looking to get them involved, you want to see if they'll enjoy a little bit of pro wrestling action, tonight's a great opportunity. FTX Arena, WWE Live. I remember the first time I took my older son. I took him when he was maybe like 4.5. And I hadn't watched wrestling like regularly in a while, like years. But now I got a little kid, and let's see if he's into it. And if he's into it, then I would love to watch it with him. I'll get right back into it, you know? This is like 9 years ago. And I remember we went to a WWE house show at FLA Live Arena. And like, I was really wondering how he was going to react to it. Within like a minute, he was into it, like on his feet and cheering and clapping. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. So if you got it, like, this is a good opportunity. If you've never taken your kids to go see pro wrestling live, the tickets are super affordable. When you want to go to the shows that are on TV, they're really expensive. But a night like tonight, lower level seats, really affordable. I highly recommend going. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. Good family atmosphere at WWF. It's a major difference between major difference between WWE and AEW. Not that AEW isn't for families, but WWE really caters to a family environment, family experience. So I'm excited about tonight. Haven't been to WWE in probably a few months. So we're into that tonight. Unfortunately, I'll be missing the Panther game, although I'm not really going to miss the Panther game. I'm going to record it, so nobody text me. No messages, no spoilers, all right? Don't tell me what's going on with the Panthers. Panthers are back in action tonight against the Canadiens, two teams that suck. Panthers suck, but they're still my team. So back tonight, it looks like they're getting healthy. It looks like they could get Barkov, Ekblad, and Radko Gudas, the Butcher. All three of those guys could be back tonight. It's like, obviously, team has to get healthy, but the team was healthy earlier in the season, and they weren't winning. They weren't winning many games. So team stinks. They're killing me. They are. But you had the Christmas break, so maybe you could start a little bit fresh here. Even though having the murderer of fun behind the bench, Paul Maurice, that's a killer. So Panthers tonight. I'll be recording that. No spoilers. Nobody tell me what's going on. I'm going to watch the game late night style after I get home from WWE Live. I'm very excited about that. But let's get into the Heat here. And obviously, we know Tua is out for this weekend. We'll get to it in a moment here. And then we'll bring Romberg aboard. But let's get to the Heat. So the Heat win last night, 112-98. It was a fun game. For the full 48 minutes, he played really well. And while the Heat offense was good, it was the defense that led the way. We know the Lakers are not good. Anthony Davis. LeBron did play. I was annoyed, though, yesterday. I was. In general, I'm annoyed overall with the whole NBA player resting and not playing. And I get it that LeBron's 38. So he may not play in back-to-backs. Although, I'll say a couple things why that annoys me. Number one, you watched LeBron last night. He had 27 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He was 10 of 18 from the floor. He was really good. Did it look like LeBron can't play in a back-to-back? I mean, he's the greatest player. He could play in back-to-backs, all right? Chooses not to. But he played last night. I was also annoyed because we got to like 5:30, which is normally when you get the next injury report. So we were 2 hours before the game, and LeBron was still questionable, still no word. And that bothered me because what did LeBron say the night before? I'm just going by what he said, right? What did LeBron say the night before? So he played against Orlando, played in Orlando, and is he going to play the next day in Miami? And he probably played yesterday because it is Miami, and he wanted to play in front of the Heat fan. He had the best years there in front of the Heat fan. He never used to play when he went back to Cleveland in front of Miami. He used to love ducking that game. But with the Lakers, he plays in it, so you like that. What did LeBron say 2 nights ago? He'll decide, he'll know if he could play. He'll decide if he's going to play when he wakes up. Okay, it's fair. 5:30 p.m. yesterday, we still don't know. Nothing. No word. No word from him, no word from the Lakers, no word from anyone. I'm just going by what LeBron said. He would know when he wakes up. And, we got nothing. So, you got fans who have paid a lot of money to go to the game to see LeBron. Maybe you got people who are considering going to the game, paying a lot of money to see LeBron. He said when he wakes up, he's going to let everybody know if he's playing. 5:30 p.m., we don't know anything. So, that really bothered me yesterday. But I'm glad he ended up playing. The Heat, for the most part, he played one of their better games of the year, I think, start to finish. And look, when you get Jimmy and Bam playing, both of them return, you're going to get an efficient game. Jimmy had 27 points. He was 11 of 18. You take away the 3. He was 0 for 4 from 3. So from inside the 3-point range, he was 11 of 14 last night. Excellent job there by Jimmy. Got to the free throw line a little bit. Bam had 23 points and 14 rebounds. He was 10 of 16. I mean, how about that? The two of them combined 21 for 34. Excellent job. And Hero had 18 points and 9 assists. He struggled from the floor. Excuse me. Whoa, that was gross. He was just 6 of 17 from the floor, but he was 3 of 7 from 3. And Caleb Martin was also in double figures. So the Heat get over the 500 mark. They are now in the 6th playoff spot. And they begin a 5-game road trip tomorrow. Tough trip. Starts in Denver. You like that they start in Denver as opposed to second night of a back-to-back. That's always a killer when you play the second night of a back-to-back in Denver. So Denver, Utah, LA Clippers, LA Lakers, Phoenix. And we know with Phoenix, Devin Booker's out a month. The 2 games you're looking at, you got to win in Utah. You got to win in Phoenix. All right? Those 2 games right there. Actually, sorry, I misspoke. You got to win in Utah, and you got to win at the Lakers. That would put you 2-2 going into the final game of that trip, which would be in Phoenix. And no Devin Booker. It's struggle city right now for the Suns, including yesterday. They lost again. They got smoked, I think, by Washington. You want to put yourself in a position for 2-2 going into that final game, where 2-3 is not a bad trip, but you put yourself in a position for an above 500 road trip if you do that, and that would be a very good trip. So I think that's what we're looking at. You need to split these first 2 games between Denver. Look at little pockets. You need to split these first 2 games, Denver and Utah. I think Utah's probably the one you're going to get. You got to split those 2, and then you want to split the 2 games in Los Angeles, Lakers and Clippers. And then you put yourself in a good position for the 5th game, which is in Phoenix. So that's what you're looking at, right? Split the first 2, split the next 2, and then play out the final game of the trip. Now, Kyle Lowry missed the game last night. He missed the game for personal reasons. This is the first game this season that he's missed for personal reasons. He missed a lot of games last season for personal reasons. We don't know what it is. We don't need to know. That's it. That's what personal is. All right. That's the definition of personal reasons. And look, full disclosure, I'm not a Kyle Lowry fan. I have not enjoyed watching him play for the Heat. But while personal reasons is not something that the public needs to know, it's not something that fans need to know, I also completely understand fans being upset. I do. You're a Heat fan, and you're annoyed that Kyle Lowry misses games for personal reasons. You're allowed to be upset. You are. There'll be people there in the media who tell you that you're being you're being disrespectful. Have a little bit of class. No. You're allowed to. Same thing we talked about yesterday. You're allowed to want Tua to play. You are. You got guys on television. You got people in the media. Oh, we're talking about a player's health. We're talking about a player's safety. It can be both. You're allowed to talk about a player's health and safety and also want him to play. You don't have to apologize for wanting Tua to play. You don't apologize for being a fan. You don't have to. Don't let the people on television, don't let the media, don't let the writers, very self-righteous. Don't let them tell you that you need to apologize for that. You don't. And the same thing here. You don't deserve, it's not your right, you don't deserve to know why Kyle Lowry's missing games for personal reason. From what I understand, it is, last year was a really serious issue. I would assume this is among, in line with the same issues that were last year. It is not your right as a fan to know why he's missing the game. It's not. But you're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be upset that a player who they're given $30 million a season has underperformed in a very big way, was out of shape last year, was awful in the playoffs, and continues to miss games because of personal reasons. You're allowed to be upset. Now, like I said, it's not your right to know why. And there is, you can be upset about it or annoyed with it, whatever, in a respectful manner. What if you had a personal issue? Don't you want people to understand? Here's the thing. No one's paying money to watch you work. No one. Again, be respectful. I'm not sitting here telling them, hey, play through it. Who cares what's going on? No. No one's doing that. And if you are doing that, you check yourself, all right? But if you had a personal issue and you have to miss time at work, no one's paying to watch you work. It's not the same thing. No one is heavily invested in you and your success at the office. It's not the same thing. No one's paying money. No one's paying their hard-earned money to watch you work and succeed. People are paying money and are heavily invested in their favorite team. They are. It's not the same thing. You're allowed to understand that he's missing games due to personal reasons and also be annoyed. You are. Don't let the writers, don't let people on social media, don't let people on television, although no one on television is talking about Kyle Lowry. He's irrelevant. But don't let them tell you, oh, stop questioning Kyle Lowry and why he's missing games because of personal reasons. Have some respect. You're allowed to care about the product on the court unless they stop charging you, unless you're not paying for the games anymore, unless it's completely free to go to the games. Like, you're allowed to... I do think you could show some respect for the situation and be allowed to be upset and be allowed to be annoyed that they can't get this thing going. Now, they won last night, but that they can't get this thing going because Kyle Lowry has to miss time because of personal reasons. You're allowed to show respect and also be annoyed because you're paying money. If you're going to games, you have season tickets, whatever, and or you're heavily invested because you've been a fan for 35 years. You're allowed to be, you're heavily invested and you're allowed to be upset because the product isn't up to snuff because you have a player who keeps missing time. Now, that's not necessarily the case this year. Again, first game he's missed time due to personal reasons, but you're allowed to, when is he coming back? No, stop asking when he's coming back. He's dealing with a personal issue. No, you're allowed to ask. Stop letting the people on social media, stop letting the writers. It's all very self-righteous. You're allowed to want, like, we went through this, right? We went through this with the Chris Bosh stuff. And thank God, look, love Chris Bosh. All-time great. Love him. But the Heat fam, you're not allowed to be upset that he was having blood clots. That's ridiculous. But when he was going through what he was going through with the blood clots, I remember you would have fans would ask, hey, is it possible he can come back this year? When do you think he can come back? And you would get really self-righteous writers, people covering the team so self-righteous. How dare you ask when he's coming back? He's dealing with a serious personal issue. Are the games free? Are the games free now? Are we not charging for the games? Because if the games are not free, as a fan, I'm allowed to wonder about the product on the court. I'm allowed to be concerned about Chris Bosh and then also wonder, is it possible he can come back because I paid a lot of money and I'm heavily invested in the team's success? And you got a lot of self-righteous dudes out there. That's terrible. You're a bad person. No, you weren't. You're a fan. You're a fan. You're allowed to wonder. You're allowed to ask about the product that they're putting in front of you, that you're spending your hard-earned money and your emotion investing in. You're allowed to wonder about it. We went through it with Chris Bosh. And you get the red. They put their thumb their nose up at you. No. Same thing here with Kyle Lowry. Be respectful, but you're allowed to wonder, is he going to be on the road trip? When is he coming back? Is this going to be an issue throughout the season again? You could be respectful about the situation, and you're allowed to also ask all of these questions in regards to the basketball team. Unless the team doesn't want you to care about the team anymore. And if that's the case, then okay. All right, whatever. But if you're supposed to still care, you're allowed to ask questions about the on-court product and who's going to be there and who's not. So, look, I hope Kyle Lowry's back soon. I hope he's on the trip. I hope he's leaving today with the team for the 5-game road trip. And I really hope that everything works out for him personally. I'm also able to wonder when he's going to get back, when he's going to be on the floor, and how he's going to play. I'm allowed to. You're allowed to. Don't let anyone thumb their nose up at you and tell you that they're not allowed to, that you're not allowed to. I also want to say, I object to, and Sedano talked about this yesterday. Like, Sedano brought it up, and I got some responses to on Twitter. You could tweet to me at ZASLOW Show. You can also hit me up on Instagram. I'm an influencer, but I love talking to you guys. At ZASLOW J. At ZASLOW Show on Twitter. And Sedano brought this up with the whole, Caleb Martin isn't a starting player. And I object, like, Caleb was in double figures again last night. I object to the whole Caleb Martin's not a starting player topic. You don't have to have a stud at all 5 positions on the floor at the same time. You don't have to have a stud at all 5 starting positions. I mean, Jimmy Butler has a max contract. Tyler Hero is making starting next year, $30 million a year. Bam Adebayo has a max contract. Kyle Lowry is making $30 million a year. If you're paying those guys that kind of money, not every guy on the floor, and not the 5th guy who is sandwiched in between those 4 guys right there, not all 5 guys need to be studs. Like, if those 4 guys are being paid that way, they're expected to perform at a certain level, which for the most part they are. The 5th guy there doesn't also need to be a stud. Doesn't also need to be a star. Like, I would expect if those guys are being paid the way they are, there's an expectation of their performance, of their play, and that would mean that, you don't necessarily have to have a stud. The 5th guy doesn't need to also be a stud. So, it's not an all-star team. It's not supposed to be an all-star team. So I object to the whole Caleb Martin's not a starting player. He can easily start on this team. And he's been doing a really nice job. I'm a fan. He's been doing a really nice job. You don't have to have all 5 guys stud. I mean, hell, when the Heat went to the finals 3 seasons ago now, Jay Crowder's not a stud. The Heat had a lot of success with Jay Crowder in that starting lineup. Because you got other guys there. You had Goran. I believe Goran was still starting at the time, right? You had Goran and Jimmy and Bam. And then you plug in 2 other guys. There's an expectation of those 3 guys. And you plug in 2 other guys. And those guys were Duncan Robinson and Jay Crowder. So I object to the whole Caleb Martin is not a starting player. Caleb Martin's not a starting 4. Why? I mean, if you have a middling team, a middling starting 5, then you can nitpick. You're like, you got to be better than this guy. Well, not when you got Jimmy and Bam and Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry there. Caleb Martin absolutely is a starting player when he's surrounded by those guys. So I don't want to hear that anymore. I want to do a little bit on LeBron here. So we'll get Romberg on in just a few moments here. So give LeBron a listen after the game last night. LeBron had a good game. And good for him. ZASLOW, you got to give it up for LeBron for playing last night. Second night back there. Why? It's his job. Why? I'm not giving it up to NBA players for playing, all right? I'm glad he played. It was annoying not knowing, but I'm glad he played. And he played well. Here's LeBron after the game last night.
Dennis Schroeder did an interview last week where he said he talked to you and you said you want to play 7 more years till you're 45. Were you feeling particularly springy that day? Is that an aspirational number?
I don't have a number. I know as long as my mind stays in it, I can play at this level for a minute. Now, it's up to my mind. It's not my body. It's going to be okay because if my mind into it, I would make sure my body's taken care of, and I'll continue to put in the work. I'm a winner, and I want to win. And I want to win and give myself a chance to win and still compete for championships. That has always been my passion, has always been my goal since I entered the league as an 18-year-old kid out of Akron, Ohio. And I know it takes steps to get there. But once you get there and you know how to get there, playing basketball at this level just to be playing basketball is not in my DNA. It's not in my DNA anymore. So, we'll see what happens and see how fresh my mind stays over the next couple of years.
All right, so that's LeBron from after the game last night, and he's frustrated. But by the way, it didn't sound like when he's saying, I want to win. A lot of times you'll hear that from players, and it's kind of a precursor to, I don't know if I could do that here. I didn't get that impression at all. At all. It totally still sounded like he wants to play the rest of his career there with the Lakers. So I maybe you're seeing that different. I didn't get that at all. That's not what I heard there. That was essentially about how long he wants to play. I mean, 7 more years. Holy crap. I know he wants to play with his son, but he wants to win. So there's a little bit of frustration there, but I don't think it's frustration to the point where he's not going to want to still stay with the Lakers. But here's the thing. LeBron wants to have it both ways, and you can't have it both ways. I'm not doubting that LeBron wants to win. But what I am doubting is that LeBron wants to win over money. Money's first. And and good for LeBron, man. This is the way it's supposed to be, especially at this point in his career. But like, I saw Ira Winderman in the South Florida Sun Sentinel, who's the best, obviously. All right, everybody knows that. And I saw, a headline from him, does LeBron deserve better? No. LeBron doesn't deserve better. LeBron absolutely does not deserve better. Because here's the thing. LeBron's making almost $50 million this season and next season. Remember, he signed the big extension. Now, not this year because they're tied up in salary cap hell, but next year they're going to have some salary cap space. LeBron signed this massive extension, which showed you, hey, and by the way, LeBron deserves this. LeBron signed this massive extension at the detriment of helping his team win. And I'm not talking about one of those deals where instead of signing for almost $50 million, hey, LeBron, you made so much money. Why don't you sign for $5 million and leave all the money? I'm not even talking about that. If instead of signing for almost $50 million, LeBron could have signed for almost $30 million. $30 million. I mean, think about it. When he was with the Heat, he made $15 million a season. LeBron could have signed for almost $30 million a year. And that Laker team, not this season because they're tied up, but next year, that Laker team would have so much money to spend in free agency. But no, LeBron wanted the max. He wanted almost $50 million, which he deserves. But winning is not the most important thing if that's the case. The money is the most important thing, which is fine and probably the way it should be for a player at this point in his career. He's won 4 championships. Get all the money you can. But don't let LeBron tell you that winning is the most important thing. Winning is not the most important thing. It's why he's out there in LA in the first place, all right? But instead of signing for almost $50 million, he could have signed for like $30 million a year. And the team would be in a much greater advantageous position to wind up putting winning players around. LeBron does not deserve better. If LeBron took a pay cut, and a pay cut, we're talking $30 million. If LeBron took a pay cut and the team is, this is what they've surrounded him with, then yeah, man, LeBron took less money to stay there and give them flexibility, and this is what they got around him. Man, LeBron deserves better. That's not what happened. LeBron signed for the most money he possibly can, and at 38 years old, and the next year at 39 years old, and at 40 years old, they're paying a guy almost $50 million. And as a result, you can't put the team around him that he deserves. He doesn't deserve better. He's getting exactly what he deserves because he didn't want to take a team-friendly deal. If he took a team-friendly deal, and again, team-friendly would have been them paying him $30 million a year. If he took a team-friendly deal, then he would have deserved better. He doesn't deserve better. He put the money first, and that's okay. That's what he should do. But he doesn't deserve better. He's getting exactly what he deserves. LeBron has made almost $400 million in his NBA career. We're not talking about the off-the-court stuff. He's well over $1 billion with all of that. He's made $400 million in his NBA career. He couldn't have taken $30 million a year on this contract, and then you put your team in a position to win, and then you deserve better. But no, he had to get the most money, so he doesn't deserve better. I don't hear that. Does LeBron deserve better? No. If he took a pay cut to just $30 million a year, then he deserves better. But he wanted all the money, and that's great. But you don't get to have it both ways. If the winning was the most important thing, you take less money so that your team can put together a better product, so they have more wiggle room, they have more financial flexibility. But LeBron wanted what the money that he deserves. He deserves this money, that's for sure. He wanted the money that he deserves. But with that money, you're not going to get the winning. He didn't help the team, so he doesn't deserve better. Not at all. All right, I'll tell you what you guys deserve, though. If you're not feeling well, you deserve to be seen by a doctor immediately. You'll call your doctor. Hey, doc, I got a fever. I'm not feeling well. I got to see you. All right, come in. We got an appointment ready in February. No, that's. I need to see someone today. Doctors on Call 365, South Florida's urgent care that comes to you. That's who you're going to call. Forget about calling your regular doctor if you're not feeling well. You need to see someone immediately. Doctors on Call 365, they're going to come to your home or your office. Maybe you're trying to power through it, or if you're staying at a hotel, whatever you got going on, that's not my business. But what is my business is making sure if you're a listener of ZASLOW Show 2.0 that you feel good, all right? And if you support the show, you got to support the sponsors as well. But here's the thing. Doctors on Call 365, they're trying to help you. South Florida's urgent care that comes to you treating children, adults, elderly. If minor illness, minor injury, you need blood work, you need a COVID test, a flu test, strep test, you need x-rays ordered. He's not going to do x-rays at your home, but you need x-rays ordered. You need a prescription filled or refilled. Let Dr. Alon and his team at Doctors on Call 365, I've used them twice, all right? It is so convenient. It's a pleasure. You go to the emergency room, you're waiting forever. Your copay, it's going to be up the wazoo. You're paying out of pocket right now. You got Medicare acceptance coming soon, private insurance coming soon as well. You're paying out of pocket, but it's going to be less than your copay if you go to the urgent care, you go to the emergency room, and you're waiting forever there anyway. The convenience, you can't put a price on it. Doctors on Call 365.com, 786-577-9302. That's 786-577-9302.